It is time for the next block of the fireworks finale. Sew along.
It's going to be great. So Audra and Bonnie, take it away.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the fireworks finale. Sew along with Missouri Star Quilt Company. I'm Audra from Sew Dreamy Studio.
And I'm her mom, Bonnie. And this month we're diving into the block for month 2, which is Pinwheel Party.
Pinwheel Party is truly a party because it goes all throughout our quilt. These are the blocks that we are making this month. We are making quite a few smaller, different blocks that will be spread all throughout your upcoming months. So in today's video, we are going to be showing you the technique to develop the pinwheel block itself. And at the end, I'll talk you through making these other blocks that will be seen all through the upcoming assembly of other units.
This is when you're going to want to have your clearly perfect slotted rulers on hand, because they will make a huge difference in this project.
They absolutely will. I always thought my half square triangles were actually super, super accurate. And then I started using the clearly perfect slotted trimmer and I realized just how inaccurate I was. As we did last month, we do not have all of our fabrics out because what we were going to do is we were going to show you the techniques to create these. And as we mentioned in the first video, gather your fabrics according to the gather section of your pattern. Grab that month 2 bag. All your fabrics will be there. We are going to demo the 2 different sizes of the pinwheels. It's going to be up to you to assemble them per the illustrations in the pattern. We are going to start by taking one of your fabric eyes and one of your background fabrics, these are your 5-inch squares, putting them right sides together. And I'm just going to pin this once in the center and I'm going to pass this to Mom. But what you're going to do is you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance around the entire perimeter of the block, creating a sewn square. And I'm going to pin also a fabric B and a background for her as well. These are 4 1/4 inch squares. As Mom is sewing it, I'm going to talk about the clearly perfect slotted trimmer. There's a trimmer A and a trimmer B, and those are both referred to in the pattern itself. Trimmer A does 1/2 inch squares, where trimmer B does whole inch squares. So trimmer A, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, trimmer B, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, etc. So when the pattern says you use trimmer A, it's because you're doing a 1/2 inch square. Trimmer B is for a whole inch square. And we'll show you how to use those. And again, we have our fabric key handy, especially for this month, because there are certain blocks, and I'll show you this as well a little bit later, but you've got colors that are super, super similar. So I can't tell you how many times I refer to the fabric key when making these, because it's fabrics J and fabrics K, but I kept getting them mixed up. So we have a little note here that like fabric J is the blue crest, fabric K is the blue swirl, just so we can kind of keep ourselves organized. So check it. You'll be glad you did. Just to make sure you didn't mess anything up. Okay, perfect. So thank you, Mom. So how we do this from here is we're going to cut along the diagonals. Now for this, I don't really care which slotted trimmer I grab because ultimately I just want to make sure I'm taking a really nice even cut. So when I do this, I'm lining up the slotted trimmer corner to corner, and I'm going to cut that accordingly. And again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this center line and line it up along that cut edge, and then take the bottom of the ruler and line it up along that to that corner stitch, so I can make sure I am cutting as true a triangle as I possibly can. So my 5-inch pieces, I am going to be taking trimmer B, and I am going to be cutting them to 3 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the stitch line along the 3-inch. You'll see there's a dash line. I line that up along my sewn line. And I'm going to trim that off. Oops, that was a really bad cut because I can't really see what I'm doing. Trim that, and then I'm going to trim off these dog ears. What's great about this slotted trimmer is there's like a little stop in there, so it won't go past that point. And Mom is going to press these open as I trim them. This month's block is a perfect time to invite all your sewing friends over, and frankly, even your non-sewing friends over, and say like, hey, why don't you press open my things for me? Or trim this up for me. Okay, so now I'm going to take trimmer A and take my 4 1/4 inch blocks and trim them down to 2 1/2. There are quite a few of these in the pattern. So again, this is a perfect time to invite them over for pizza, provide your drink of choice. It goes a lot faster if you have friends. I actually saw one of these clearly perfect slotted trimmers at a Quilt Guild meeting one time, and I didn't get it. And now I get it. Okay. So we are going to lay these out according to the illustration. And you're going to see, you're looking for that pinwheel effect. All the points come to the center. And they're going to, so if you look here, we've got this fun little pinwheel effect. The background squares also create like a secondary pinwheel as well. You see all those corners come together. And we're going to do the same thing with this guy. And so this is our smaller square. Oops, wrong direction. So before we pin anything, we just want to make sure, like, okay, yes, here is our pinwheel, and here is our pinwheel. So we know these are all going in the right direction. From here, we're going to sew them 2, 2, 2, 2. This is where chain piecing is absolutely your friend. There are lots of pinwheels in your future. So we're going to chain piece these, and then we'll press it open and then also stitch them together across the centers. So I'm going to pin these for Mom. Here is my little trick to get my corners lined up. The first place I pin is right here. And I look in the corner and I hold it open. And I pin down my stitch line. So I know I've got that first. Then I will pin here as a reminder I'm stitching right here. And I do the same thing here. So I'm going to hold this open, pull it back, make sure this lines up the way I want it to. You can kind of feel it too when you rub it between your fingers, that like those seams match up. Pin that there. And Mom, if you want to start sewing those. All right, and I'm going to pin these while she is sewing that for me. And there's that guy. And again, you're just going to keep repeating these pinwheels per the pattern. So in the pattern, you're actually creating pinwheels. You've got fabric I in your background for your 5-inch squares. But then for your 4 1/2-inch squares, you are actually, and I'm going to just double check myself, you're actually doing them with B, E, F, J, and K fabrics. So just make sure you're checking your pattern. It is so well written. It will walk you through everything you need to know and to do. But just always make sure you're referring to your pattern in your fabric guide. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so again, I'm going to press these open. I always double check myself before I stitch again. I lay them out. Yes, the pinwheel is correct. Don't ask me how I know, but I know. Learn from my mistakes. when we were setting up for this shoot, I don't have a little pressing mat. And I was like, oh, how are we going to press on the table? I got this little pressing table at a quilt show. God, what, Mom, maybe 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
I think we were there together, and I think you bought it for me as my Christmas present.
Did.
And I usually use it when I teach, when I'm out teaching. And man, it has come in handy. Okay, so we've got this pressed. You're ready to go. We also want to make sure these points match up. So my first step when I do that is I look at the back. I put my pin through where that point is on the back, and it should match up in the front. Then I pin through the matching point on the other side. And that is the first place I pin. So then I know that's kind of where my points are matching up. And then I pin at each end. And sometimes when we're sewing down this line, we kind of have to like jog over to meet that point and kind of come back a little bit. I promise you it feels a little funky when you're sewing it, but it works when you're done. Again, I'm double checking to make sure my pinwheel is correct before I press anything and sew it again. Pinwheels are really fun to do scrappy because you can use a small amount of fabric to do them. And then you can do all kinds of fun different designs. Again, I'm going to do that same technique. Put my pin through the point, make sure it matches on the front. I'm going to pin through my other point, pin that spot first. And then line up everything else. And there we go. There's our pinwheel. There's our larger pinwheel. So the pattern will refer to the large pinwheel unit. This is the large pinwheel unit because it is the 5-inch unit. One is all set. I'm going to reach behind and grab some of these little guys and throw them in my bin. If you haven't tried sewing with rope, I highly recommend it. I love sewing with rope, and this is my little scrap bin that I keep on the table. And then here is our smaller unit. This is our 4 1/4 inch unit, which we make out of B, E, F, J, and K fabrics, if I'm saying that correct from memory. Make sure you double check me. All right. So here are 2 completed pinwheel units. Again, you will be making these out of a variety of different other fabrics. The 5-inch unit is only made out of the I fabric. So let's talk about the final units you will be making. From here, refer to the pattern on how you assemble your units. Again, remember, you have multiple colors of these smaller 4 1/4 inch pinwheel units that you will be making. There are smaller pinwheels assemble into larger pinwheels for upcoming months. So this large pinwheel unit, which we attach a strip of background fabric and a rectangle of background fabric to, will be used in month 3. The BE pinwheel units, which is 2 E pinwheels and 1 B pinwheel with 3 background squares, is going to be used in month 3. And then we create the JK and KJ pinwheels. This is that one I was referring to earlier that keep your fabric key handy because the colors are very close. So these are mirror units. These will come into play in month 4. And then also the FK pinwheel unit is an F unit, a K unit, and then multiple background squares. So these are the units that you will be creating, which will be used throughout the rest of the months. So let me grab my scrappy ones to show you what mine look like. I'm also going to show you how I like to label things. And I've got BE unit month 3. So I kind of try to keep things organized. So you can see here is my scrappy version of the large pinwheel unit. Here is my scrappy version of the BE pinwheel unit. Here are my JK and KJ units. And then here are my FK units for month 4 as well. So you can see just how incredibly different everything can look just based on the fabrics you choose. Using the BE block is a perfect example of just how fun fabric choices can make things. This is such a quintessential patriotic pinwheel, and I love that. And this version still has that patriotic feel, but isn't so red, white, and blue. I especially fell in love with these really cute plaid pinwheels. And then we've got this little domino feeling pinwheel that just gives it this very Americana and taking it to a picnic. And that's kind of our goal, is to throw this in the grass and enjoy it on a picnic, because quilts are meant to be used. So that's month 2. Month 2 smatters all the way through the upcoming blocks. And once it's done, it's going to be really fun to see it all come together.
And don't forget to post your final blocks on the Quilt and Stitch America 250 Facebook page.
Next month is month 3, our Blooming Stars block. And I think it's going to be beautiful, and we can't wait to see you there. Happy sewing.
Happy sewing.